I just wanted to tell you all that God really wants to do great things through your willingness to serve and obey Him. He's been preparing you already, and all He asks is for a willing heart. God has allowed me to be on the school board, like I had said, for the last 26 years. I was just reelected in November, and I serve 30,000 students, and I oversee a $450 million budget, which never thought that was going to be something I would do. But God also has allowed me to be president of the California School Boards Association, and then also the chair of the National School Boards Association Pacific region that I was overseeing 9 states and 2 provinces in Canada. So I started out as a stay-at-home mom, helping in the classroom at school, also mentoring at-risk youth in the most dangerous neighborhood in Modesto. And I was a high school guest speaker on abortion, adoption, fetal development for Bethany Christian Services Adoption and Counseling Agency. And then at that time, over 100 believers were meeting in our city and praying for people to run for school board. I didn't know anything about that, but I was doing my own thing. And like I said, and I was in a Bible study, and we were studying the book of Nehemiah at the time. And God just, out of that book, He said, I want you to run for school board. And there's no way I could do that. I'm a stay-at-home mom, this isn't me. How could I ever do that? I didn't even know at the time what a school board did. So I didn't believe it for a while, and God just kept chasing after me. I felt like Jonah running away, and He kept following me and asking me, I want you to run. I want you to run. And so finally I gave in and said, okay, I'll do it, but I need help. And out of that, I had some people that were praying, that group of people that were praying, they said they wanted to help me. So that was really God moving on their hearts and then moving on my heart. And in that, I think my fears had to do with, you lose your privacy. You're a public person. I didn't really want to be in that place. I wanted to be able to just, be very real and not be worried about what people thought. And public school board, and it wasn't the small school board that God called me to. He called me to the big school board. That was this huge one in our city, not the little ones. We have 7 feeder districts of small districts, but He wanted me to run for that big one. And then in that time when I started running, Chuck Bryant was, there was one of the men who said he'd help me. Chuck was the owner of the business that this gentleman worked for, and he asked Chuck if he'd give me a donation. And I remember walking into Chuck's office, and I was this nervous, young mom, and was terrified. And I remember he said, yes, I'll give you a check. And I was just about blown away because I didn't believe that people really would support me. But God had a different plan. And thank you so much for Chuck. It was so great that he was there and that he helped me in that process. He's also been a great support over the years. At different times I've called him and said, help, Chuck, I want some advice. And then he also chaired 2 of my campaigns. So that was a big sacrifice for him, because it's a big deal doing that. So I so appreciate him. But I believe that God had already prepared me for this public position in many ways. He took something I cared so much about, the children and education. And then I had this great desire to follow the rules. And so that is what school board policy is all about. And so He already was putting on my heart these things to prepare me. I tell people that you really need 2 supports if you're going to choose to run for public office. You need God and you need your spouse. Because man, you're going to face some tough times, and you need to know that God is with you and your spouse is on your side too. So sometimes I cry out to God, and I vent with my husband after a particularly grueling meeting. He's really great to be there for me and listen to the frustrations. And sometimes I'm just telling him along the way what's happening and some of the things I'm dealing with that are very hard. So it's been beneficial to have people in my life, like the Pinnacle partners in my small group, our Pinnacle Forum, where I can share confidently and tell them, here's what I feel right now, and here's what's going on, and will you pray for this? And so I'm just so grateful for Pinnacle. They've encouraged me in so many ways. And I know that this position reveals Ephesians 6:12, which says, that it's not about what is seen, because our fight is not against flesh and blood, but it's against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. You're all probably seeing that as you watch the news and hear the reports about education in California and around the nation. It's just been a very difficult time. But when in a public school board meeting, I promote my position, I try really hard to woo the other board members. And there's 7 on my board. And so I have to get 3 of them to agree with me. And in California, we have a rule that we can only talk to 2 of them. So it's really difficult to be able to convince people to vote on our side. But most of the time, I have lost the votes that I really, really care about. And I just have to leave that and leave it up to the Lord, and then have a positive attitude afterwards. Otherwise, it'll eat at you and create a frustration and bitterness. And so I've had to do my best then, and then just release it all and the results up to God, because I know that He has a plan.